Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 yang beranggotakan Riska Dwi P, Siti Annisaurrohmah, Ulin Mu'allamatus S, dan Zelfany Lufti M.A.P. In this chapter, we shall talk about situational context with clause as representation. Melalui sistem transitivitas, kami akan menjelajahi klausa di dalamnya siapa melakukan apa kepada siapa. Siapa atau apa adalah apa atau siapa, kapan, di mana, mengapa, atau bagaimana fungsinya. According to systemic theory, a clause can be viewed as realizing several layers of meaning into a single linguistic constituent. Menurut teori sistemik, klausa dapat dipandang sebagai mewujudkan beberapa lapisan makna menjadi satu konstituen linguistik. The most important way to classify these layers is by referring to three metafunctions: ideational, interpersonal, and textual. Cara paling penting untuk mengklasifikasikan lapisan ini adalah dengan mengacu pada tiga metafungsi: ideasional, interpersonal, dan tekstual. The ideational metafunction is concerned with clause as representation and transitivity system belongs to it. Metafungsi identik berkaitan dengan klausa sebagai representasi dan sistem transitivitas miliknya. Halliday originally proposed that the experiential ideational metafunction was one of the three main metafunctions. It is also called as clause as representation because the clause represents the content of our experience, answering the question, who does what to whom. Halliday awalnya mengusulkan bahwa metafungsi pengalaman ideasional adalah salah satu dari tiga metafungsi utama. Disebut juga klausa sebagai representasi karena klausa tersebut mempresentasikan isi pengalaman kita, menjawab pertanyaan siapa melakukan apa kepada siapa. This metafunction use the grammatical system of transitivity. Metafunction ini menggunakan sistem gramatikal transitivitas. The clause is a configuration of a process participant involved in it and any attempt circumstances. Klausa adalah konfigurasi proses peserta yang terlibat di dalamnya dan setiap keadaan hadir. Experience as event or goings on. Pengalaman sebagai peristiwa atau berlangsung. Three components. A process unfolding through time. Proses berlangsung sepanjang waktu. The participants involved in the process. Peserta yang terlibat dalam proses. Circumstances associated with the process. Keadaan yang terkait dengan proses. Komponen in transitivity. Transitivity structure. Proses penting bagi transitivity. Peserta dan keadaan berkewajiban atau perbuatan, kejadian, perasaan, dan makhluk. Ini menunjukkan bahwa ada berbagai jenis kejadian yang perlu melibatkan berbagai jenis peserta dalam berbagai keadaan. There are different process types identified by Halliday. Types of process. Material process, doing physical work, melakukan dunia fisik, seperti doing to acting, creating changing, happening, being created. Melakukan untuk bertindak, menciptakan perubahan, terjadi atau diciptakan. Behavioral, behaving. Mental, sensing world of consciousness. Penginderaan dunia kesadaran, seperti seeing, feeling, thinking. Melihat, merasakan, berpikir. Verbal, saying. Relational, word, being, word of abstract relation. Keberadaan berhubungan abstrak, seperti having attribute, having identity, and symbolism. Melambangkan, memiliki identitas, dan memiliki atribut. Terakhir, existential, yaitu existing. And then process and participant, process and their component. Verbal process, the participant roles in actor and goals, aktor dan tujuan. Mental process, the participant roles in sensor and phenomenon, sensor dan fenomena. Relational process, the participant roles in career or identifier, attribute or identifier. Pembawa atau teridentifikasi, atribut atau pengenal. Behavioral, the participant role in behavior, perilaku. Verbal process, the participant roles in sayer, pembicara, and receiver or target, penerima atau target. Existential, the participant roles in existence. Circumstances, keadaan menjawab pertanyaan seperti kapan, di mana, mengapa, bagaimana, berapa banyak, dan sebagai apa. Location, temporal, when. For example, she will arrive on Tuesday. Dia akan tiba pada hari Kamis. Menjawab pertanyaan kapan. Jadi, tibanya hari Kamis. Spatial, she lives in Birmingham. Dia tinggal di Birmingham. Where, di mana. Menjawab pertanyaan di mana, yaitu tempatnya, yaitu in Birmingham. Extent, temporal, for how long, untuk berapa lama. For example, she has lived for 8 years. Dia telah tinggal di sana selama 8 tahun. Untuk berapa lama? Jadi selama 8 tahun. Spatial, how far, berapa jauh. For example, it slid halfway over the floor. Ini meluncur berapa jauhnya setengah dari lantai. Manner, sikap. Means or quality or comparison, cara atau kualitas atau perbandingan. For example, Daddy went off quite happily at 7.40. He answered with a smile. Ayah pergi dengan cukup gembira pada jam 7.40. Dia menjawab sambil tersenyum. And why? Mengapa? For example, we have to be there early as it's Friday. Early as it's Friday. Harus berada di sana lebih awal karena sekarang hari Jumat. Mengapa? Karena sekarang hari Jumat. Purpose, tujuan. What for? Untuk apa? For example, he bought over for a chat. Dia mampir untuk mengobrol. Menjawab pertanyaan what for? Untuk apa? Untuk apa? For a chat. Untuk mengobrol. Behalf, who for? Untuk siapa? For example, he is doing the shopping for me. Dia berbelanja untukku. Jadi menjawab pertanyaan who for, untuk siapa? Untukku. Contingency, concession. For example, despite his eagerness, he is unlikely to succeed. Lepas dari keinginannya, dia tidak mungkin berhasil. Accompaniment. Who or what with. Dengan siapa atau apa. For example, she returned without her gun. I with her friend. Dia kembali dengan mengeluarkan senjatanya atau dengan temannya. Quiz. Quiz what us. For example, he returned and remained at the hotel as an inoffensive tourist. Dia kembali dan tetap di hotel sebagai turis yang tidak ofensif. Product. What into. Menjadi apa? For example, the constable future turned into a green. Ciri-ciri polisi melebar menjadi seringai. Menjadi apa? Menjawab pertanyaan what into. Menjadi apa? Menjadi seringai. Into a green. Menjadi seringai. Method. What about? Bagaimana dengan? For example, I will wager he learns more about you than you about him. Saya berani bertaruh dia belajar lebih banyak tentang Anda daripada Anda tentang dia. And then angel. From what point of view? Dari sudut pandang apa? For example, to a great mind, nothing is little. Bagi pikiran yang hebat, tidak ada yang kecil.
The next is material processes. So what is material processes? Material processes are processes of material doing. They express the notion that some entity cyclically does something which may be done to some other entity. So clauses with a material process obligatorily have a doing or process and a doer or participant. Here the example of material processes. There is some sentence that we can analyze by ourselves. The verse is the fool ignites. So the fools as participant and ignite as processes. Nah, and for another example, you can see by yourself. Okay. There are two varieties of material processes. So the first is creative and dispositive. In the creative types, the goal is proof about the process, while in the dispositive, we have doings and happenings. Nah, here is the example. In the first sentence is creative type. Handle word the Messiah. So handle as an actor, word as material, and the Messiah is goal. While in the dispositive type, we have doings and happening. For example, Carrie dismiss with lamb. So care as an actor and dismiss as the material and with lamb as the goal. The next is about mental processes. what is mental processes? Mental processes are ones of sensing, feeling, thinking, and giving. There are three types: affective or reactive, or feeling, cognitive or thinking, and perspective or perceiving through these five senses. The participant roles in mental processes are sensor and phenomenon. The sensor is by definition of a conscious being, for only those who are conscious can feel, think, or see. We can, of course, attribute our input consciousness to non-sensate beings. For example, that toaster doesn't like me, I swear. Nah, this is for the example of mental processes, and you can analyze it, you can see it by yourself too. Okay. And the next is behavioral processes. So what is behavioral processes? That is processes of psychological behavior like breathing, dreaming, snoring, smiling, hiccuping, looking, watching, listening, and pondering. There is one obligatory participant. So the behavior, like a sensor, the behavior is a conscious being, but the process is one of doing, not sensing. Nah, in this slide, here's some example of behavioral processes, and uh, you can analyze by yourself. You can see it. Okay. The next is about verbal processes that will present by Ulin Mu'allamatus. Time is yours.
Verbal process. Verbal process are process of saying, or more accurately or symbolically signaling. Very often these are realized by two distinct clauses: the projecting clause and codes a signal source or sayer, and signaling is verbal process, and the other is projected clause. Realize what was said as with mental process which project. The projected and projecting clause are each and analyzed in their own right. Jadi sumber sinyal itu adalah sayer, dan pensinyalan yaitu proses verbal, dan yang lainnya yaitu klausa yang diproyeksikan. Sayer itu tidak harus human being. For example, she said, I don't like brass sport. She is sayer, said is verbal, I is sensor, don't like is mental or effect, brass sport is phenomenon. And for example again, she is sayer, explain is verbal, the she is sensor, didn't like is mental effect, brass sport is phenomenon. Desire signal source need not to be a conscious being. For example, design is sayer, says is verbal, no smoking is material. And for example again, the alarm clock is sayer, scream is verbal, get up is material. There are three other participants that might be incumbent upon verbal process. Jadi ada tiga partisipan yang berupa verbal process. One is receiver, the one to whom the verbalization is addressed. Two, target, when a client upon verbally insult complimented. And three, range or verbiage is a name of verbalization itself. Sayer is subject and object is receiver, target, range, or verbiage. For example, John is sayer. John told Jenny a rude joke. John is sayer, told is verbal, Jenny is receiver, and a rude joke is verbiage. And And for example again, creating short word, Howard. Creating is sayer, short is verbal, word is target. In verbal process, the beneficiary is receiver, a participant role we've already made. The receiver is the one who is being addressed. The receiver is also sometimes called the address. The beneficiary is the one to whom or for whom the process is said to take place. For example, you promised the doctor you would quit smoking. You is sayer, promise is verbal, the doctor is censor, you is actor, and would quit smoking is material. Range is the element that specifies the scope or domain of the process. The range in material process typically occurs in the middle clause, those with actor only, no goal. For example, she dropped a curtsy. She is actor, drop is material, a curtsy is range. And for example again, she is actor, drop is material, and egg is goal. Jadi beda. A curtsy and an egg. During type process, their meanings and key participants are summarized below. Process type is material, behavioral, mental, and verbal. Category meaning is doing, happening, behaving, sensing, saying, signaling. And participant, actor, goal, behavior, range, sensor, phenomenon, sayer, target, and receiver. Relational process, process being and having. Relational process that show a verbal group being and having. Relational process are divided into two types, namely attribute and identifying types, and it has a different participant. Attributive indicates the quality, and the participant, namely carrier and attribute, while the identifying shows the identity and participant token and value. Relational process involves states of being, or including having. They can be classified according to whether they are being used to identify something or to assign a quality to something. Processes which establish an identity are called identifying process, and processes which assign a quality are called attribute process. Each has its own characteristic participant roles. In attribute, these are carrier and attribute. For example, gyptoplasm is sort of jelly-like material. Cytoplasm is carrier, is attribute. Participantnya is it intensive. Sort of a gel-like material is attribute. Plain cells is carrier, have is attribute, dan jenisnya possessive. A cell wall is attribute. The yolk is carrier, is attribute, and masuk pada circumstantial, and inside the albumin is attribute. Okay, process type, relational process, being and having. Bedanya, carrier and attribute, subtypesnya attribute showing quality. For example, a whale is a mammal. Jika dibalik, a mammal is a whale, berarti salah. Is menunjukkan bahwa dia itu atribut. Menunjukkan atribut. She has beautiful eyes. Jika dibalik, beautiful eyes has she itu tidak bisa karena yang memiliki mata biru tidak hanya perempuan itu tapi banyak orang. She has beautiful eyes. And token and value. Subtypesnya identifying, showing, identify. For example, the nucleus is the brain of the cell, and all cells contain cytoplasm. Jika dibalik itu bisa, the brain of the cell is the nucleus, bisa. Jadi bedanya atribut dan identifying yaitu atribut itu tidak bisa dibolak-balik, tetapi jika identifying itu bisa dibalik-balik. The nucleus token is identifying intensive. The brain of the cell is value. Jika dibalik bisa, karena value menunjukkan subject complement. The brain of the cell is the nucleus, itu berarti bisa. Proses personalized proses, career and attribute itu dibagi menjadi 3, yaitu intensif, possessive, dan circumstantial. Possessive, intensif, a whale is a mammal, jadi lebih intensif. Jika possessive, she has curly hair, has menunjukkan possessive. And the yolk is inside, yaitu circumstantial. Karena circumstantial ini bisa menunjukkan manner, time, or place. Relational process itu salah ketik, yang maksudnya relational process identifying, yaitu token and value. Dibagi menjadi 3, intensive, possessive, and circumstantial. Jika intensif, the Aconcagua is one of the mountain in America. Is menunjukkan intensif, and possessive, all cells contain cytoplasm. Itu contain menunjukkan possessive. The time of our meeting is Friday. Karena menunjukkan waktu, time, berarti itu termasuk circumstantial.
Okay, next is existential process. Existential process are process of existence. There has no representational function. It is required because of the need for a subject in English. Existential processes are expressed by verbs or existing, be, exist, and arise. And the existence can be a phenomenon of any kind. Jadi, existential process merupakan proses dari suatu keberadaan. Dan kata there tidak memiliki fungsi representasi, namun diperlukan karena kebutuhan akan subjek dalam bahasa Inggris. Dan proses eksistensial di sini diekspresikan dengan kata kerja atau bisa juga to be, exist, or arise. Dan eksisten bisa disebut sebagai fenomena apapun atau semua kejadian yang ditunjukkan oleh to be, exist, or arise. In example, there's a unicorn in the garden. Nah, there di sini tidak memiliki fungsi representasi, jadi kosong. Sedangkan is, fungsi representasinya yaitu eksistensial atau to be-nya. Kemudian, to be di sini menunjukkan a unicorn yang merupakan eksisten. Dan ditambah keterangan in the garden. Circumstance itu keterangan yang menunjukkan place, tempat. Contoh yang lain. There ensued a protracted legal battle. Di sini tetap ya, there tidak memiliki fungsi representasi. Jika kalimat pertama tadi menggunakan to be is, di sini menggunakan verb ensued. Jadi ensued di sini merupakan eksistensial. Kemudian eksistennya a protracted legal battle. If in an existential clause containing a circumstantial element, the circumstantial element is thematic. The word there may be omitted. Jadi, jika dalam klausa eksistensial ini terdapat circumstantial element, nah circumstantial element ini disebut tematik. Tematik yaitu yang dijelaskan dalam materi minggu lalu, yang merupakan bagian dari klausa yang selalu berada di depan klausa. Nah, di sini mungkin kata there-nya itu dihilangkan, digantikan dengan circumstantial element. In example, on the matinee jacket was a blood stain. Nah, di sini on the matinee jacket ini merupakan circumstance yang menunjukkan tempat. And was is existential and a blood stain is existent. Next is existential there is not to be confused with circumstantial there. Jadi, kata there dalam existential ini tidak bisa disamakan dengan there yang merupakan circumstantial. In example, kalimat pertama, there's your book right where you left it. And kalimat kedua, there's even a book about great Australian Danish. Perbedaannya, dalam kalimat pertama, there di sini memiliki fungsi circumstantial yang merupakan atribut. Nah, kenapa? Karena there di kalimat pertama ini menunjukkan letak di mana tempat buku yang ditunjuk. Namun, di kalimat yang kedua ini, there merupakan fungsi eksistensial, jadi tidak memiliki fungsi representasi, kosong. Karena sudah ada kalimat keterangan atau circumstance di akhir klausa, yaitu about great Australian Danish. Jadi, dalam kalimat pertama ini, jika dianalisis, there masuk ke dalam atribut circumstance, kemudian to be is masuk ke dalam atributif, and your book is carrier. Sedangkan dalam kalimat kedua, there tidak memiliki fungsi representasi, kemudian is merupakan eksistensial, even tidak memiliki fungsi representasi, kemudian a book masuk dalam existent, and about great Australian Danish is circumstance yang menunjukkan matter. Next is extra participants and causation. In many process types, there is the possibility of the process being initiated externally. For instance, we often find material clause like, the devil made me do it. Here, there is the initiator and the participant roles in the clause would be analyzed as follows. Jadi, dalam klausa tipe proses di sini mayoritas terdapat partisipan eksternal atau partisipan bentuk ketiga. Partisipan ketiga. Biasanya kan dijelaskan di awal tadi kalau ada partisipan pertama dan kedua. Nah, di sini terkadang mereka itu memiliki partisipan ketiga. In example, the devil made me do it. Nah, ini dalam material process. The devil di sini merupakan partisipan ketiga dan disebut inisiator. Kemudian me itu partisipan kedua disebut aktor, dan proses dari made me do ini dinamakan material. Kemudian it itu partisipan kedua, nah disebutnya goal, seperti yang dijelaskan di awal tadi ya. Kemudian situasi yang sama itu bisa terjadi di proses relational atributif. Nah, di sini partisipan ketiganya itu disebut atributor. So we will analyze the following clause as, she drives me crazy. She di sini yaitu partisipan ketiga atau eksternalnya disebut atributor. Kemudian drives atributif prosesnya, me itu partisipan pertama yaitu carrier, and crazy partisipan kedua yaitu atribut. Nah,
dalam identifying clause pun ada partisipennya yang disebut assigner. In example, they call me Bruce. Nah, they di sini yang merupakan partisipen eksternalnya yang disebut assigner. Nah, dalam proses mental pun juga ada partisipennya disebut inducer. In example, she made me rethink my attitude. Nah, she-nya ini masuk ke dalam partisipen eksternalnya yaitu inducer. Nah, and the last is summary of process and incumbent participants. Rangkuman dari rangkaian partisipen yang ada dalam proses type. Dalam material proses type misalnya, di sini R itu partisipen pertama, id itu partisipen kedua, causal ini bisa partisipen ketiga and other, mungkin partisipen yang tambahan lainnya. Dalam material ada actor, goal, initiator, and other is beneficiary or ring. In behavior, partisipan pertama itu behavior, kedua ring, dan ketiganya nggak ada. Kemudian di mental process type, partisipan pertamanya sensor, keduanya phenomenon, ketiganya inducer. Kemudian dalam verbal process ada sayer and verbiage. Tidak ada partisipan ketiga atau eksternalnya. Namun bisa juga ada partisipan yang lain yang disebut target. In identifying process, ada partisipan pertama itu token, yang kedua value, dan yang ketiga assigner. And in attributive process, ada carrier, attribute, and attributor. Sedangkan dalam existential process hanya ada partisipan existent. Okay guys, thank you for your attention. See you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, that's enough from us. Thank you very much for your kindly attention, and we're so sorry that we have a lot of mistake while explaining the material. See you on the next meeting, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Don't give up. Thank you.